Hello, and welcome to the Pulse of Jonesboro. I am Jeremy Terrell, and I am your host. We are going to talk about several different things today. I kind of have a habit of starting to talk about a lot of things and don't end up getting all the way through the podcast talking about all of them. So I've done some things a little bit different. I've got my computer sitting out here, and we're going to see if we can't just go right down the line and talk about these things, especially since they're so important. And when I do a podcast or an episode from week to week, I don't want to leave things out, but I really want to hit the important things. And sometimes I miss those things out or leave some of those things out. What I do want to start with, though, is talk a little bit about what's coming next year. We are pouring a lot of effort into making this even more of a community thing. We will go on our Facebook and we will start a Facebook live group, and that way we can get in there, ask questions, talk. Sometimes I'll get on live and we can just engage the community, talk about how we can do things better, answer questions, see what it is that you guys want us to know, or what you guys want to know in order to best serve you and the citizens of Jonesboro, and give a platform for ideas. So look forward to that. That's one of the things we'll be doing come 2026. Other things is we are going to be doing some newsletters. We are going to be doing some other avenues to really get you information that matters in Jonesboro. And so we're trying to figure out how to do that specifically. We do have most everything set up on it, but we want to make sure that it's gone through and that it all works properly so that we can provide you, Jonesboro and Craighead County, the best possible service. So look forward to that. It's going to be a great year, 2026. And we're going to do a lot of great things. I'll tell you another thing that I'm working on is hopefully in early 2026 we may do. Number one, I got to get candidates to do this, but we're going to try to do a YouTube live or a Facebook live debate on. We have a ton of JPs running. We have some races that are going on in our community, and I do believe that it would be important for those people to be heard. So we will try to get that done in January or February, because March is a big month. So we'll do our best to make that happen, try to pull that off logistically, and obviously get people that may want to do that. So look forward to that. Can't promise that that's going to happen, but that is a goal of ours. So I want to, I drove around the other day with a friend of mine, and we really were driving around the town talking and looking at different things. And one of the things we were really talking about that's really hurting Jonesboro, especially since the mayor talks about pushing to get to 100,000. He says it's going to happen anyways. Doesn't matter what we do. There is some truth to that somewhat, but if we stop some of the things that we're doing and really focus on other areas that would stop an influx. And the problem is when you listen to what the mayor is talking about, he's talking about people moving out of areas that are really struggling, and they're going to move to Jonesboro. And we want people, good people. We want people that are escaping areas that are really run down and bad with no opportunity to come here and explore the opportunity. We don't want the riffraff and the types of individuals that are coming here to exploit all of the citizens of Jonesboro. And I fear that is what is happening. I fear that is the direction in which we're going. And I there's a lot of people that share that same outlook. And so we need to be doing things in order to make sure that we aren't basically going to look back at this time and really regret that we didn't do the moves and make the moves that we are supposed to or should be doing. So You know, one of the things is housing. And I really believe that, number one, our city council, and this isn't all of them, but this is the majority of them, we need to make sure, or they need to make sure that they know when they sign off on something, what does that look for the future? What does that look like for the future of Jonesboro? What does, signing off on houses look like? And what does that what does signing off on apartments look like? And what does signing off on multifamily units look like? And the areas in which you're doing it, so forth and so on. So I think that the terminology is a rubber stamp. And unfortunately, and I've got friends there, I've got people that I respect on the city council, but a lot of times the majority of them are a rubber stamp for what's happening. And I don't believe that they take the time to look at the pros and cons. I don't hear them talking about the pros and cons most of the time when they're having any debate. Most of the time they don't even have any real debate. We do have some questions that are asked, but no real substantive debating on certain things that we're allowing to be built in Jonesboro. We don't look at what that looks like for the future. And a lot of things is we, as we continue to build, and we're not building, we do have a few neighborhoods that are going up in areas that are, attracting people that are going to come and contribute to Jonesboro. But we also have a ton that are going to be 50 to 100%, somewhere in between. I don't think any of it will be 100%, but rentals. And don't come at me and say anything crazy, but this is just proven facts, unlike some of the facts that we get told that aren't facts, but these are proven facts. The more rental units percentage, when that grows higher, the worse that is for a community. And we need to make sure that we are always underneath that. And city council should know those numbers. And if you keep rubber stamping or whatever it is on housing and multifamily housing and things like that put us above that number, it's your fault that whatever happens in 5-10 years down the road. So my opinion is you city councilmen and women should know that number. Find out that number. Now, I can give it to you, but I really want you, I may be showing up here real soon at a city council meeting and ask you guys what that number is, because I want you guys to go look up that number, see what that number is, and do something with it. And so when somebody comes and says, I want to build 500 rental houses, you guys can say, no, that takes us above the threshold. Or if I want to build 1,000 or 500 or 400 or whatever multi-level or multi-family units, you guys can say, that takes us above the level. Sorry, we can't do that. And I think that is 100% what you should be doing. And if you don't know these numbers, shame on you. You should know these numbers. So go look them up. Do what's best for our city. You guys should be educating yourself at a level that nobody else is within our communities. So with that being said, if anything else comes along and you guys don't know that number, don't vote on it. Like you shouldn't be able to do that because you don't know the things that are going to take Jonesboro in the wrong direction. And that is one of them. So know that percentage. I'm coming to ask, so you better know it. Which brings me to, moratoriums. We're not real big on moratoriums, but I believe we should put a moratorium on multi-unit housing anywhere in Jonesboro, but specifically in, Jonesboro and Nettleton areas, because you're making it more difficult for them to educate, period. And you're making it more difficult for Jonesboro as a whole to do what is right for the current citizens in our town. So I think you ought to do a moratorium. And again, city council should know the consequences of everything that they vote on. And I think that it should be a debate of pros and cons every single time that there's a vote. But most of the time there's not. It's just like, well, I think that's a good idea, and vote on it. Or you get one or two that ask questions and the rest don't, just sit there. One or two or three ask questions. And a lot of times they debate on whether or not they're going to ask a question because they might not feel like getting beat up that day. So anyways, you've got to know the consequences of your vote. And I truly believe that they don't. And a lot of times, I think they are rubber stampers, and that's the epitome of the term rubber stampers. Is come in, somebody comes in with the idea, and this is what we should do, and very little, if any, questions are asked. Nothing is looked at. How does this benefit Jonesboro? And they rubber stamp it, and they vote yes. And anybody can come in. If I want to build something, I'm going to come in and give you a bill of goods, right? But no questions are asked. You don't go and look at other areas. I believe that the city council, the majority of them believe that, going to 100,000 is good, and the truth is it is not in the current position that Jonesboro's in right now. I've been saying this for weeks on end. Growing to 100,000 in the current position that we are in is bad, because it will be bringing in more people that don't have jobs, more people that are not contributing to Jonesboro, and it will be a negative. It will be huge negative. Our unemployment is creeping up. It's slow, I will say that, but it is not moving in the right direction. And which brings me to kind of another thing that we're going to talk a little bit about, and that is, our chamber. So I'm online all the time. I'm looking at social media and stuff. That's what we do, right? We are a networking through social media, and I see Always Jonesboro. I mean, they're everywhere, and I believe that they're doing a great job. I think, one of their things is retaining talent, and I do believe that they bring a sense of dynamic that definitely would do that. And I'm glad that who's in charge and who's doing that. I'm really glad that they decided to do that. I look at their ambassadors. I believe that their ambassadors are top notch. I don't know all of them, but I definitely know a handful of them. And I believe that they are the people that can make a difference in our community. And so I'm all for Always Jonesboro. And that's a chamber thing. And that's one of the ones that I'm like cheering for. I want them to make a difference. Now, with that being said, you guys have heard me say this on last few episodes. We are continually in the C's, C minus, C, C plus, C back to C minus in the last several quarters, 6, 8 quarters, maybe even more than that, maybe even as far back as 2020, the beginning of 2023, and maybe even before that. And we continue to be C's in our economic development. And what kills me is you guys have heard me say this, people, we have the same people doing the same things, preaching the same things that we've been saying for years and years and years, and expecting a different outcome. Doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different outcome is called what? It's called insanity, right? Everybody knows that. But that's what we're doing. All the way down to the same people constantly meeting with groups and entities that want to possibly come into Jonesboro, and whether they go to dinner, whether they meet with them, whatever happens, and they don't come. And so to me, it's like it's time to put other people in front of them and see what happens. It's time to put, people like Always Jonesboro. I mean, forgive me. And before I started this, I had her name, but the one that's really running that, I mean, she's dynamic and personality, and she's out there, and some of the other ones. But that's the kind of that's the kind of dynamics we need. But we also have to provide the numbers and the understanding of what it is that the people are wanting. And I don't believe that we're accomplishing that. I mean, clearly we're not accomplishing that because we're not moving in the right direction economically as Jonesboro. And people can get mad at Jeremy and the Pulse, and I get it sometimes from them, and hateful things and boo boo boo. All I'm doing is giving the facts. I'm giving the statistics, and that's it. I'm literally providing information. If you don't like the information, you can come on the Pulse and we can debate the information. Please do. Please, because prove me wrong anytime you feel like I'm wrong. And I'll gladly, I want to be wrong in a lot of these things. And so come on the Pulse. Let's talk about it. And if I'm wrong, I'll be the first to admit it, and gladly, because I want nothing but for Jonesboro to succeed. Nothing. And this is why we do the Pulse. And that is to shed light on the things that we do that I believe we have to scratch our heads and say, why? Why are we doing this? What's the importance of it? How does it move us in the right direction? And when I give the statistics it is because we're not doing the things to move us in the right direction. And I'm saying the same team is the one that meets with everybody that comes in, that wants to possibly come to Jonesboro, that is looking at Jonesboro as maybe their new home for their business, and they don't come. And that's, again, it's time to make a change. It's time to diversify and really move in a direction that allows Jonesboro to thrive. Now, there's all kinds of obstacles. There's all kinds of things that are going on. There's a lot of inaction in Jonesboro. There's a lot of talk. Now, man, we are good at talking the game, but we're not real good at the game. And at some point in time, we've got to realize that. And you, the people, and those that are in charge, need to look at themselves and step back and say, maybe I am the problem. Maybe I do need to step down or get out of the way or whatever it is in order to move Jonesboro in the next direction where we can thrive. And, there's a lot of scrambling, a lot of things going on that certain people are trying to do that. But if you don't take the issues that are really right in your face and deal with them, you're not going to succeed. If you ignore these things that I'm talking about, the way that we build our housing and the way that we don't do infrastructure. I'm so sick and tired of hearing the mayor talk about 600 miles of roads and 20 miles of sidewalks that we put in the last blah, 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 but we haven't done anything to our roads. And, we talk about the budget and we don't have enough in the budget to do the roads, but then we don't do anything in order to make the budget bigger. Number one, we have a budget, so use the budget. Use the budget. I talked about this time last year that none of the budget would have been being used for roads, and yet we continue to not use the budget. So let me be clear, because some of you guys will be saying, well, we are doing some roads. Look at this and this and this. And you're right, we are doing some roads. The city did one road, I think, in the last year and a half. Well, I'm going to take that back. We've done 2 roads in 2 years. The rest is RDOT or the state. So Alexander, which was pathetic job, but that was the state. Parker, the state. The intersections that we're currently seeing being done, that's RDOT. Now, did we contribute money to that? Yeah, we contributed some money to that. Are we doing it? Are we providing it? No. I mean, this is something that RDOT has said needs to be done, and they did their analysis, and we're doing it. So, or they're doing it. And so we need to be clear, when was the last time several of our major outlets were done? You guys have heard me say this in some of our neighborhoods over and over and over again. It's not poverty neighborhoods. It's not rich neighborhoods. It's all neighborhoods need overlays. I mean, the neighborhood I just moved out of is gravel in certain areas. Now, it's a neighborhood. It's not a gravel road or a county road. It's a neighborhood, and it's gravel. And so I don't want to stray too far, but we have to be clear about what it takes in order to move us in the right direction. So city needs to be held accountable. Those that are supposed to be providing and grabbing and getting new business to Jonesboro should be doing their job. If they're not, they need to be told that they're not doing their job. And by the way, they are being told, because I can tell you this. I know of one, maybe the largest bank in Jonesboro, or second largest bank in Jonesboro, has decided to get out of the chamber. I know that there's probably more to follow, and that's not a good thing. So banks give a ton of money to the chamber, and if they're not happy, nobody's happy. So those are just facts based. Why in the world would a bank pull out? The only reason is they're not satisfied in the direction that the chamber's going. The problem is that those in charge just go, nothing to see here, and we'll just keep doing the same thing that we've been doing. So that's a really bad thing, and we're not going in the right direction, period. And again, if you disagree, you guys know my phone number. Call. We will have a debate. We will take this live on the Pulse, and we'll see who's right. So, safety. One of the crazy things I can't. So, federally, it's funny. One of these senators, and I don't remember where she's from. She's in the news all the time now. She's I don't know. I can't remember her name, unfortunately, but you guys may know who I'm talking about. Crockett, maybe? Is that her name? She went on this rant, a public rant, and accused one of her political foes that he received money from Epstein, and that, why? Why would we be electing anybody that received money from Epstein? And what she knew and what she didn't say is it wasn't the Jeffrey Epstein that we all know, right? It was a Jeffrey Epstein, a Dr. Jeffrey Epstein from some place that, a constituent of his that has nothing to do with the Jeffrey Epstein that, that's been busted, killed himself, whatever, the conspiracies are there, but is a convicted pedophile. And they say stuff like that, and it's just, bull. It's just bull crap. And then they go on and they're like, well, I didn't lie. You misled, massively misled, and you did it for political gain and a purpose that is not on the up and up. It's just nasty, gross. And the reason why I tell you this is because this is the way that I feel when some of the people in our city talk about safety in Jonesboro, because they even the news outlets, they'll say, Batesville man, because they'll say, Osceola man beats wife and gets arrested. And you're here in Jonesboro, and you kind of like scratching your head and you're going, what? Osceola guy beats his wife here in Jonesboro at this residence. She's a Jonesboro person. Oh, he's only lived here for 2 or 3 years. It's just misleading. And then they'll do constantly doing this type of stuff. They'll say, resident of Blyville or resident of Corning shoots his gun off, at a residence. It's his resident, and he's been there for 4 years. But they're like, a Corning man, and it's misleading and it's bull. And then, I listened to a thing yesterday that the mayor was talking about, and he's like, it's been a fact that 30% of the crime that happens in Jonesboro comes from out of town. Well, yeah, when you count people that have lived here 2, 3, 4, 5 years as out of towners, yeah, and you promote it that way, and you say those things, and who cares whether they're from out of town or not, especially if you know that they're from out of town and you're not doing the things that deter these things. You guys heard me say a while back about the brawl that happened downtown. Nothing. Mayor didn't say nothing. Chief of police didn't say nothing. Nothing. They didn't tell us what went on. They didn't tell us how it happened. They didn't tell us nothing. They didn't say it's totally not going to happen in our town. They didn't say anything about it. People are still in the hospital dealing with this. I mean, this is months later, still in the hospital dealing with this kind of stuff. And the mayor and the chief have said nothing. The brawl in Walmart. I don't know if anybody knows that, but we had a big old massive brawl in Walmart. Nothing. We're having way more shootings. If they come out and they say the shootings, and the mayor said, it's about the same. The crime is about the same. What does that mean, about the same? So it's up because you've been preaching about it being down for the last 4 years, and it's up. Number one, you fudged the numbers. It has not been down, not once. Certain areas have been down, and you count those, and that's what you tout. But crime has not gone down in the last 4 years, and it has exponentially not gone down in 2025. Gun violence is up, rape is up, certain things is up, domestic violence is up, lots of different things are up. And you because you've been touting safety, as you've allowed the police department to, the leadership in the police department to diminish. You and I had this conversation. Not just you and I, but you and I and another person had this conversation, and you guaranteed me that was going to be fixed after the election. It's a year later. We've done nothing. And now you mislead people in your comments, and it's not right. It's not right for the people of Jonesboro. So, and it's definitely not right for the men and women that serve us in uniform, that come to work each and every day wanting to make a difference in Jonesboro, and the leadership that they deserve is not there. Jonesboro Police Department, this is nothing against the people of the police department, but Jonesboro Police Department 10 years ago, 15 years ago, was the envy of the entire state. The envy of the entire state. Today, that's not the case. We're losing good police officers all the time. And one of the biggest ones is the state. We're losing them to troopers, as troopers. And I get it. They get better pay, and, everything's better, right, in the world of a trooper versus a patrolman in Jonesboro. But we're losing them to Bay. We're losing them to Truman. We're losing them to Bono. We're losing them to Paragould. We're losing them constantly to other towns, smaller towns, and nobody wants to talk about it. We're just going to ignore it. the pay scale, things like that, because, you'll ask for grants and money out the wazoo for, all kinds of stuff. I'm like, we'll go on a tyrant about the library, but we won't talk about how much we're losing from the men and women who protect us each and every day, how many of them we're losing and why we're losing them. Just ignore it. And, that's the safety. That's the bread and butter of Jonesboro. We talk about the same people coming in and having, meeting with other companies to try to bring them here and groups and entities and people. But the truth of the matter is they can't, when somebody says, "Hey, are you safe?" No, we're not a safe community. Now, are there like the percentage of you going out and getting, shot at is pretty low still. It's getting bigger, but it is still pretty low, depending on what neighborhood you live in, of course. But it's getting higher. We are one of the worst in the state, and we're getting worse. We're moving in the wrong direction. But the mayor touts that that's not the case, or he sugarcoats it, constantly. He doesn't say, "Yeah, we're moving the wrong direction, and here's the plan to stop that." I'm so sick and tired, and maybe this is just the new norm. It's like, don't call a spade, call it a heart, wrap a bow around it, and talk about how much we love everybody, and act like it's not happening, and maybe it goes away. I feel like that's the new politician these days. You guys have heard me say we don't make a move unless we pay somebody to tell us what move to make. It's constant and it's aggravating, and I'm just kind of sick of it. I really am. I could go on a 2-hour tyrant about this, but I want to finally talk about cameras. Okay. So I told you I drove around with a friend of mine last week. We looked at cameras. We talked about cameras, and I'm a no big brother kind of person. Freedom is freedom, but we also, safety is safety. Safety is foremost the biggest thing in our town. Period. In any town it should be, but safety is priority number one, and it should be priority number one in Jonesboro. Not sidewalks, not downtown, not whatever. It should be safety. And again, when I say this, I have to reiterate all the time, that just because I'm talking about safety doesn't mean I don't like the chief of police. I think he's a really good dude. I think he's checked out. I think he's kind of done with being the chief, but that it doesn't mean that he's not a good dude. It's just time for him to go, and he's got to take number 2 with him. And we need a change. And that happens in life all the time, businesses and, schools and everything, it's just time, and it's his time, and it's Lynn's time, and they served, in some ways honorably. They did their job, but things are moving so fast and in a direction that is new and unknown, and there's just things that we have to do to take Jonesboro to the next generation. And for some reason, not everybody, but the people at the top seem to think that the only thing we have to do is put up more cameras, because we're not training more. We're not providing more for them. We're not better pay. We're not, better equipment. We're not sending people out massively getting trained in lots of different things like we used to. Our SWAT was number 1 across the state and across the United States in a lot of ways. We're not doing that anymore. I don't know what we're doing, but we're putting up a lot of cameras. We're spending millions of dollars on cameras. And so we were driving around looking at cameras. There's these new cameras that we got. Apparently they're going to be great, wonderful, new, the best of the best. and that may be true, but I want to know where are we putting them and why? Because I will tell you this: I drove around, and I can tell you the majority of all of them I agree with where their placements are. But one in particular I found really weird. We have one, and I'm not going to say the road just yet, because I'm hoping that somebody listens to this and realizes how dumb it is, and they go take it down and put it in a place that is more conducive for one of our very expensive cameras that are to help. And I know why they're going to say what this is why we put it there and but so we've got one on a road that on the corner of a road and another road that is minimal traveled at best. It does get traffic 2 times a day, and I believe that it could be moved down to where it actually is monitoring that at a much better level. But instead, we took it 3 or 4 blocks away from, and I'll just be frank on that, from a school, and we put it on the corner, and it's really close. I would say a house away from somebody in the city's kid. And so I believe it makes no sense. I looked at every other camera that is up. I drove around and probably found, I don't know if I found all 17, and I believe it was 17 new cameras, but I believe I found the majority of them. And all of them are in a place I kind of agree with the exception of one. And this one just happens to be 2 doors down from one of the relatives who is a prominent individual in the city. And so in my belief, and they can correct me if I'm wrong, give me a call. There's a lot of people up at the city that have my number. It's my belief that this is put there because somebody lives right there beside them, and they have used taxpayers' money to give security to an individual who's a relative of our city. I don't think it's right. We'll see. Let me prove me wrong. Please make it make sense. Of all the places we could have put it, this is where we put it, and doesn't make any sense. So I'm tired of speculating the shadiness. I just want open, honest transparency, which was promised to us, and we don't get it. We do not get transparency. We have lots of things that are backdoored, underhanded, and I believe, you can only do this for so long before people start to see it and recognize it. So, guys, that is today's episode, this week's episode. One of the other things that we're going to be doing in the new year is we will probably be upping the episodes. We'll probably be doing a couple of them, whether it's a full episode or just more shorts that give information. That'll be coming next year as well. So look forward to next year, guys. Like this, share this. Let's continue to build the pulse of Jonesboro. We do have great things coming. We have elections. We have go check out. We have 2 judges that we interviewed. I'm doing another one this week, and we'll release that episode probably sometime in December. Like I said, we're hoping to get maybe a JP debate where we have a both from Democrats and Republican side this year. Every one of them, except 3, I believe, have a race this year. So there's going to have to be a lot of campaigning, and I'd love to be one of those outlets that they allow to do a debate, and let's really find out the difference between the candidates. So we love you guys. We appreciate you. Have a great and wonderful week. Next week's Thanksgiving, obviously the episode will be about Thanksgiving, probably a little bit, and it'll be short and sweet. So Take care, guys. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next time.